So today we will discuss Meissner effect. This is also known as Meissner-Oschenfeld effect because it was discovered by two German physicists, W. Meissner and R. Oschenfeld in 1933. Meissner effect basically states that exclusion of magnetic field flux when a material becomes superconducting in a magnetic field. When normal conductor is placed in a uniform magnetic field, that is below critical magnetic field, and cooled below its transition temperature or critical temperature so that it goes into superconducting state, it expels magnetic flux, which can be better understood with this diagram. And this is normal conductor when T is less than Tc. When this is placed in an external magnetic field, then here we see that magnetic lines of forces pass through it. When this is cooled to low temperature and brought into superconducting state, magnetic flux expels out. So when T is less than Tc, there is flux exclusion. When T is greater than Tc, then magnetic lines of forces pass through it. In normal state, so we can say that in normal state, magnetic lines of forces pass through the material, and in superconducting state, magnetic flux is expelled. This is reversible process. If T is greater than Tc, then material goes into normal state. So we know that magnetic flux, magnetic field and magnetization are related with this well-known equation B is equal to mu naught H plus M. Since inside the superconductor B is equal to 0, so mu naught H plus M is equal to 0, and this gives M upon H is equal to -1, which is nothing but the susceptibility. And this relation is true for perfect diamagnetism, as we all know that a diamagnetic substance has a tendency to repel the magnetic lines of forces due to an external magnetic field. So we can say that superconductors show perfect diamagnetism. Now the question arises, is the Meissner effect a direct consequence of perfect superconductors? So for that we relate perfect diamagnetism with zero resistance. From Ohm's law, E is equal to rho J, where rho is resistivity and J is current density. For superconductors, resistivity is 0 and current density is finite, then E is equal to 0. From Maxwell's equation, del cross E is equal to minus del V upon del T. So if we substitute E is equal to 0, then del V upon del T is equal to 0. That means B is constant. So this predicts that flux does not change on cooling. So this result contradicts the Meissner effect, that is B is equal to 0, perfect diamagnetism. So perfect diamagnetism behavior of superconductor cannot be explained by considering its zero resistance property. So what conclusion is drawn? Zero resistance and perfect diamagnetism are two independent and essential properties of superconductors. E is equal to 0 or R is equal to 0 and B is equal to 0. These two are independent and essential features of superconductors. So superconductor is a perfect conductor and also exhibits perfect diamagnetism. So superconductors can be classified as type 1 and type 2 superconductors depending upon their response in an external magnetic field. Type 1 superconductors are also known as soft superconductors, whereas type 2 superconductors are known as hard superconductors. So first we will discuss type 1 superconductors and then we will switch over to type 2 superconductors. So from this figure it is clear that transition from superconducting to normal state is sharp. So type 1 superconductors, they perfectly obey Meissner effect. That means they show perfect diamagnetism below Hc. Hc is the critical magnetic field. So magnetization increases and then suddenly drops to 0 at Hc. So transition from superconducting to normal state is sharp. Below Hc, material is in superconducting state. Above Hc, material goes to normal state. So as we all know that the superconducting property is destroyed when superconductor is placed in an external field. If H is greater than Hc, then material goes into normal state. So as H is greater than Hc, magnetic lines of force start penetrating the material. Hc is quite low, it is less than 0.1 Tesla. Type 1 superconductors generally have lower transition temperature. They can be transformed into type 2 either by adding the impurities or by creating the defects in the crystal lattice. Type 1 superconductors have useful technical application for the coils of superconducting magnets, but they cannot be used for coils of strong magnets. Since low values of critical field is a disadvantage in practical applications because such superconductors cannot carry high current, that is, the critical current is low for type 1 superconductors. This is the variation of magnetization with applied magnetic field, and here from this figure we see that the type 2 superconductors do not show perfect diamagnetism since transition from superconducting to normal state is not sharp. Here you can see that destruction of superconducting state by magnetic field is gradual. Specimen is diamagnetic below Hc1, therefore flux is completely excluded and flux starts penetrating the specimen at Hc1, that is lower critical magnetic field. Depth of penetration increases as Hc1 approaches towards Hc2. Hc2 is upper critical magnetic field and Hc2 is very much greater than Hc1, approximately 100 times greater than Hc1. At H is equal to Hc2, complete penetration occurs and a specimen becomes normal conductor or goes into normal state. So here we see that below Hc1, specimen is perfectly diamagnetic and this is superconducting state, and between Hc1 and Hc2 there is an intermediate state or vortex state or mixed state, and between Hc1 and Hc2 flux is not zero, so Meissner effect is not complete because magnetic lines of forces starts penetrating the material at Hc1. At H is equal to Hc2, complete penetration occurs and a specimen goes into normal state. Type 2 superconductors are usually made of metal alloys and oxide ceramics. They can be used to make high field magnets for particle accelerators, fusion reactors, MRI scanners, magnetic levitation, etc. Here is the comparison table of type 1 and type 2 superconductor whose source is given here. So if we have to compare type 1 and type 2 superconductors in a tabular form, then it can be explained like this. The type 1 superconductors have low critical temperature, whereas type 2 superconductors have high critical temperature. Type 1 is having low critical magnetic field, whereas type 2 is having high critical magnetic field. Type 1 superconductors obey the Meissner effect, but type 2 superconductors partly obey the Meissner effect. and so on. Transition from superconducting state to normal state due to external magnetic field is sharp for type 1 superconductors, and for type 2 superconductors this transition is gradual, it is not sharp and abrupt. Due to the low critical magnetic field, type 1 superconductors cannot be used for manufacturing electromagnets used for producing a strong magnetic field, whereas type 2 superconductors can be used for manufacturing electromagnets for producing strong magnetic fields. Type 1 superconductors are generally pure metals, whereas type 2 superconductors are alloys and oxides of ceramics. BCS theory can be used to explain the superconductivity of type 1 superconductors, whereas BCS theory cannot be used to explain the superconductivity of type 2 superconductors. In type 1 superconductors, no mixed state exists, whereas in type 2 superconductor, mixed state exists. Type 1 superconductors have generally high coherence length and low penetration depth, whereas type 2 superconductors have low coherence length and high penetration depth. Due to the low critical magnetic field, type 1 superconductors have limited technical applications, but type 2 superconductors have wider technical applications due to high critical magnetic field. Examples for type 1 superconductors are pure specimens, mercury, lead, zinc, etc. Examples of type 2 superconductors are NVTI, NV3SN, etc. So this was all about Meissner effect and type 1 and type 2 superconductors.